I'm going to make a recording here. I should have got you a little earlier, but I figured I'd wait.
But anyway, just quick short story here. We called Major Bridgewater from B-40 forward and told him that during the night, 300 plus NVA soldiers entered the village. They dug trenches. They had tubes. They had guns on wheels. And so I informed Major Bridgewater and I said, what should we do? He said, go ahead. And then Greg got on a radio and said, we're going to destroy that village. I mean, he used explicitives, but he said, we're going to destroy that village. We're not just going to, I mean, originally it was a snatch operation. So when the district chief got wind of the fact that we were just going to level the village, he called it off. So, I mean, Greg grabbed me and said, you're going to die today. I was like, okay, whatever. He said, no, I'm not kidding. You're going to die. So luckily it was called off.
Yeah. Well, they had an ambush that was bar none. The bullets came down like raindrops.
Ed, you were mentioning that you had been there earlier. Was that with Fabi on Task Force Green? When were you Don Phuoc? Ed DeClaus?
Okay, we were at Don Phuoc January, February, and March of '65, I believe. And then we moved about 10 clicks east and built a camp at the Kai River.
Okay, so that was your original posting for that team that would ultimately started up Kai.
Yeah. And I can't remember what team took our place at Don Phuoc.
That was Chaplinsky's team. 533 team 411. Let me here take a look at this here.
We had a football game with Kai.
That Fabi was the CO of the team. Ed, who was the CO of the team?
Who was CO of the team?
That was Captain Fabi.
Okay, now I've got it.
PFABE, but he was replaced, oh God, I want to say in May.
By McGovern, George
McGovern.
McGovern.
by another captain who was really a sharp guy, as a West Point guy. I cannot, unfortunately, remember his name. I understand that he moved to another camp and was KIA there.
Okay, Mike.
Without seeing your face on the bottom right, what is your name?
You talking to me?
No, below you, to the right of you.
There are different screens you have. You're probably getting Mike Burleson just coming on right now.
Burleson. I remember Burleson.
Oh, shit.
Remember when I called you, Sherman? I called you about getting a hold of my teammates at 401, and I asked about Captain Mike Canavan, and you said, oh, that's easy. He's a 2-star at JSOC. Well, I called him. He was in a meeting, so I left my name and phone number. I was the ops NCO for an infantry regiment, and he called me back. So I'm walking through S1. I picked up the phone, hit the button, and I started out, hey, Captain Mike, how the hell are you? Well, we were on the phone for about, I'd say, an hour and a half. And he said, if anybody tries to screw with you, call me. And if I can't help you, Hugh Shelton certainly can. And when I hung up, the S1 got right in my face and said, you can't talk to a major general like that. Are you out of your mind? I'm like, it was a female first sergeant. I said, well, you've never deployed, so you wouldn't understand. But, you know, when you in combat with a guy, if I called him Major General Canavan, he would have thought that I was mad at him because we all called him Captain Mike. So it was a funny encounter.
Yeah. It seemed to me that he said that he was off on a cruise this week.
Pardon?
It seemed to me he said that he was off on a cruise this week and he wouldn't be able to be on.
Okay.
All right. So I told him that I'd had sessions here where people got on from somewhere in the Mediterranean and were able to join in because the ship was just floating around the ocean.
Is Randall checking in, Cunningham?
I don't know. You know, I don't know who's going to show up until they do or don't, for the most part. And
By the way, Sherman, how old are you now?
I hit 79 this year.
Oh my God, I'm 74 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're a little youngster.
Yeah, right.
The one thing about this, at this particular moment in our life, is that I can look people up and say, I'm not looking for anybody under 70. That eliminates a lot of people. It's making it a lot easier to find people. So I think I did a fairly good job of identifying who's still with us and who isn't. There were still a few people out there I had questions on.
Yeah, well, it's really irritating. All three, Susie, Locke, and Skoglin all died from the same stomach cancer, Agent Orange. I'm just waiting for my turn. But see, they were there for 2, 3, 4. Riley Lott was there 5 years at the same team. And our camp, when I looked at the map of Agent Orange being sprayed, our camp was right at the edge of it. But I was only there for about 6 months before I got sent to 404. So I was not exposed.
Well, it's a different story for everybody there, and it depends on a lot of different factors. I mean, you could have got it for something other than Agent Orange, just in the water.
Yeah.
I had a session once where I had the head of Operation Ranch Hand talking about what was going on, and his crew was being heavily tested by the military. Everybody who had anything to do with Ranch Hand, and frankly, their medical histories were not that different from the general population.
Okay.
But
Well, it gave me COPD and asthma, and it medically discharged me from the Army. But now I'm 100% from the VA and CRSC, Combat Related Special Compensation, and SSI. I mean, I'm living high.
well, it might have been a lot easier to live without the COPD. But you know,
No, I've
the
got plenty of meds. I've got plenty of meds to take care of it.
the military, in its wisdom, just decided certain things were related to Agent Orange and certain things weren't. So in 2008, I was very worried that they were going to kick me out of the VA because Obama was making these crazy noises. So I asked one of the doctors that I was dealing with out there, because I liked the service I was getting in Houston. And he said, "You just had a stent in your heart, didn't you?" Well, that's a schematic heart disease or something, and that's Agent Orange. I said, okay. I put in for it and got, 30%, I guess it was. But at least it got me from getting kicked out of the VA. Because up to that point, I was paying my full freight on the VA. But, I kind of think stent could be anything. But that's the way the military looks at it. Bob, your microphone is turned off.
Pardon?
Bob Oxner, your microphone is off.
I gotta say hello to Burleson.
There you go.
He and I met at Deming, New Mexico for the A-401 meetings with Blue. And Blue will talk about you a lot as well as a lot. And I don't know if you remember Johnny Anderson. He was there also.
Yep.
The summer of '68.
Yeah.
But
Yes, I do.
Don Blue is living large in Canyon City by Canyon Lake in the hill country right above New Braunfels with his wife, Mary Beth.
Yeah.
He's got like, I think 5 or 8 acres of property. And he's still working on it. I mean, he's out there every day making it better. And Don and I went into business together. I started an ad agency because I have a degree from the University of Texas in marketing and advertising. And so I thought, hell, I could do this, but I had no business background. So I met with Don when he was a first sergeant out of Fort Sam Houston. And he told me he was getting out. And I said, do you have any business background? He said, well, I have a degree in business administration. I said, well, you're now my partner. And he ran the company and I did all of the creative work.
Did you go broke?
Well, we had to shut it down when the Silverado Savings and Loan created that domino effect across the country. And my 2 biggest accounts that billed $90,000 a month, both of them went under because the Savings and Loan in San Antonio shut them down. So I had to shut the agency down, But it was fun. And the reason not, I'm Episcopalian, and my daughter was baptized in the Episcopalian church, where all of the wheeler dealers in San Antonio are part of the congregation. You can imagine their shock and awe when Don Blue, was it 6'6" something, was standing up with my daughter Hazel and I and her mother Carol, and the entire congregation was just pure lily white. And I'm like, well, Don basically saved my life. So, who else am I going to have for a godfather for my daughter?
I love it. I love it.
But when I said he saved my life, when I was in the boat section at 404, we went out to the tram at the old schoolhouse on a 30-day op, but I only had 2.5 weeks left in country. So Captain Trevino said, he was kind of blowing smoke up my ass and said, I need your experience out there. I'm like, okay, whatever. But he said, I'll send a replacement in 2 weeks so you can process out of the country. And Sergeant Tweet, who also passed away about, I don't know how long ago, was my replacement. I went through training group with him. He was a friend of mine. He came out a day early and I said, Tweet, you're supposed to be out here tomorrow. I said, well, I can come back tomorrow. I said, no, I'm out of here. So he was in my boat, in my position. He channeled the boats. Now, he had no experience. I knew you never channel the boats. And he got caught in an ambush. He got shot up fairly bad, but he survived. My interpreter, then his interpreter, was killed. His gunner, Cambodian, was wounded, but the gunner saved Tweet's life and was wounded also. and he was awarded the Bronze Star with V for the heroism. But by the time I got back to Kowloon at the boat site, Don Blue was organizing a relief to go in because they were still caught in the ambush. And I had all my gear on. I said, Don, I'm ready. Let's go. I know exactly where they are. He goes, you're not going. I'm like, he had to get Lieutenant, can't remember his name now, but he loved frogs, called him Hopper. And the XO, and he had the XO give me a direct order to stand down. And I was like really pissed. When I ran into him again, many, many decades later at Fort Sam, I said, what was that thing about you going in my place? He said, well, have you ever been on a night insertion under fire? I go, no. How many days did you have left in country? I said, about a week. That's why. You're not going to die on me with a week left in country. So he went in my place.
Did he make it back?
Pardon?
Well,
Did he make it back after he went in your place?
Well, I see Don. My mom just passed away at 96 on Mother's Day, this last Mother's Day.
Wow.
But I'd go visit her. I live in Michigan, Saginaw, Michigan. I'd go visit her twice a year in San Antonio, and then I'd pay a visit to Don and Mary Beth in Canyon Lake area
Okay.
every year.
Yeah, I used to live in Bay City, which is in Matagorda County, straight south of San Antonio. I used to go up to Don's house as well,
Okay.
in New Brunswick.
Well, Don does not do Facebook.
Nope, he doesn't.
Now, I don't think he, I mean, he's a very intelligent
But
man.
George Lapp does.
I mean, if he was on here, I'd bust his balls about not being intelligent enough to do Zoom. But that's what I miss the most.
Yeah.
Just the games we played on the A team, on each other. In fact, when I got to the
Aha, good. Here he is.
Speak of the devil.
who's there? Somebody joining us?
All right, there he goes.
goddamn, Don Blue.
Hey, man, I thought 1 o'clock.
Eastern.
Well, shit, I only got 2 master's degrees. I can't know all that shit. Oh, I made it.
I'm glad you
Still
did.
here.
What was
So who
interesting,
all we got here? Oh, there's Mark.
when I got
Mark,
to
you're getting old.
401, nobody would speak to me.
Nobody
and-
speak to you.
Now, on my third day, Captain Mike told Riley Lott to get his company ready to go to the field and take the kid with him. I'm like, I guess I'm the kid. 3 days. I hadn't even read the team SOP. And Paul Smythe, heavy weapons sergeant, looked at me and he goes, you look a little shaken. I go, well, I've only been here 3 days. You're sending me on a 30-day op. He goes, well, did you graduate training group? I said, yeah. I said, go pack your shit. You're going to the field. He said, look, I'll tell you what. I'll give you some advice. When Riley Lott shoots, you shoot the same direction. When he gets down, you get down. Now, if he starts running, but remember, Lott don't run. But if he does, stay up with him because everything just went south. And he said, Lott is a full-blooded Indian from the Northwest and wants to die a warrior's death. I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm with a guy that wants to die in battle. But after I got back, apparently Lott told him I'm okay. And I realized the reason nobody spoke to me is I didn't have a reputation. And by Captain Mike sending me out for 30 days with the best there was, created a rep, and I got back, got cleaned up, walked in the team room. All the guys greeted me with cold beer and welcome to the team. I mean, they didn't know if they could trust me or not. So it all worked out.
John Nesbitt,
Hey,
what were you doing on the team there? You were there from June of 68 to about October of 68.
yeah, I got there June. I remember you was talking about when I came in on a helicopter bringing some ammunition, and you guys were in the middle of a firefight. And I'm getting out of Delta Project saying to myself, wow, I haven't heard anything about the Mekong area. So I chose to go down there when the captain told me, well, look at the map, Nesbitt, and make a choice of where you want to go. So what do? I show up at Don Phuoc and go to Nui Koto Mountain. With Don and Lap and a whole bunch of other guys.
What was your MOS?
My MOS was 96B10. I was an intel analyst,
Okay.
intelligence analyst. And what is it? I was also a team leader for MacViva Condo School, long range reconnaissance folks.
Yeah, that part is another story. I got that one.
Hmm.
Let's see. Tommy Daniels, how about that? Welcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to look in. I'm headed to a doctor's appointment, but I'll be back at 1600 for the 402 thing.
Okay. Well, you have a lot of things this week coming up.
Yeah, I see Blue's still alive and Burleson. That's good.
Yeah, that nobody wants me.
You still got that? You still got that beautiful woman?
Yeah, she takes good care of me.
Yeah,
That's why you marry a nurse, so she can take care of you when you get old.
that's right. All right, gentlemen. Good seeing you. Y'all take care.
Okay, you do the same, Tommy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey there, Michael.
Yo,
You tell them about us being down there at High Yin together.
no.
You tell them about my favorite senior medic, Whitner.
Oh boy. Yeah.
How long I was on the team? What, a week?
Yeah.
And ended up having to educate him on fisticuffs.
Are you just
Well-
gonna tell cryptic stories, or are you going to give us some explanation?
Well, Whitner kept calling him boy. Don told him, you better quit. He did. So Don educated him.
Yeah,
So
that
we
was
didn't
my
have,
introduction.
so Whitner had to leave the team.
Yeah.
It was good to see you, Don. I've got a meeting to go to, so I'm gonna check out, but good to meet with you guys. And I'm one of the youngest and the newest on A-401, so.
Yeah, but
God
you're
bless you
not.
guys. Good to see you.
Yeah, but you're not the best looking.
Oh, okay, all right, right on. I'll take that.
All right. You take care of yourself.
Bob, I haven't heard a peep from you yet.
I may be at the wrong place. I probably go to A-411 instead of A-401.
This is 401, but 411 was a long time ago.
Yes, I know. I can't make that on Tuesday. The Tuesday morning one's a little later. I can't make it. I gotta go to the doctor.
Which 411?
Yeah, there were quite a few 411s.
Me Phuoc.
Oh, me, that was later, what, 67, 68?
That was 67.
Yeah.
Started, I think,
Because-
I got there in July, and it started out in April, I guess, April of 67.
Yeah. because Hai Yin Ben Hung was 411. No, it was 404, and then it became 411. Isn't that right, Steve?
402 was what I have you here for, Bob. You were at 411, but also you seem to have shown up at 402, which is this afternoon.
October, I think.
That was Coach out.
Oh, right. We were a force with a special. Oh, what do they call us? I forgot what they called us. Special.
Mobile Guerrilla Force.
They just called us when they needed us. They called us. What can I tell you? I had 250 Cambodians with me.
Yeah, 402 and 403 were at Tochow.
That's it. Yes, that's correct. You're right.
And then after tent, we moved to that old schoolhouse up at Muckwall until we moved into the camp. And I think 403 stayed at Muckwall and 402 went to Canto across from the
Right.
C team.
403 and 405 were at B40 in Canto.
The end.
Yeah, it was in A-403. That was with the Cambodians there.
Yeah, Mobile Guerrilla. We had 2 A teams and 2 Cambodian companies.
Yes, that's correct. We had two Cambodian companies. That's what we had where I was at.
Right.
Yeah. And then we lasted about 6 or 7 months, and then they got rid of us.
No, what they did, then we became the Mobile Strike Force Command.
Yes.
When I was at 401 in 69, 70, it was called the Mobile Strike Force. And then in May of 70, when they closed 401, they sent all the Cambodians to Phnom Penh, put them in Cambodian uniforms, formed a Ranger battalion from all of the Mike Force and 4 Corps, and flew them Air America to Phnom Penh. And I was glad to find out that several of our guys made it to the U.S., like Pretty Boy, Dale Chow, interpreter, and a few others. But it was the Mike Force guys were not going to run, and the Khmer Rouge just decimated them. In fact, I ran into a CIA pilot that was on that transfer, flying them from Canto to Phnom Penh.
Yeah.
When are you dating that?
Pardon?
When are you dating that transfer?
It happened during May of 70.
The camp closed at the end of May.
Yeah.
So I think it really happened in June.
No, it happened in May because Sergeant Bevins wanted me to go. And I'm like, well, I really can't because we're changing frequencies at the end of April. And I can't go because I got to, cut new antennas and then check in. And he acquiesced and said, well, okay, whatever. And I'm kind of sad I didn't go to see the transfer because they got Cambodian flags, like I said, Cambodian uniforms. And our Cambodian commander of 43rd Company was made the battalion commander before they shipped out. So it was during May of 70 when they actually flew them to Phnom Penh. The exact date, I don't know. But all that happened during May.
Well, there's a lot of argument on the timing. And there are reports which are, as far as I can tell, totally incorrect. That on the 30th of April, which was the day the coup took place in Cambodia, that there were Mike Force in country. And that's absolutely not true.
No, it's not.
There were Phuoc in country, and they had been there for a long time. The Montagnards who had been working for Sihanouk and his Les Qassem, his deputy there. But the Mike Force didn't show up. The earliest I've got that is from the 3 Corps Mike Force showing up in a series of flights that took place sometime in June. 5 seems a little bit early. But the camp closed down on the 31st. 401 closed on the 31st. So I would think that it would have happened immediately after or immediately before, because you're not going to keep a camp around. Well, the camp was in Canto. That wasn't a big deal.
The thing about 401 is they turned it into a ranger camp. And Stebbins was transferred to this ranger unit back to 401 so he could show them, what's in the area. And it was really sad because Stebbins had to cut off his SF patch and put on some kind of ranger patch. And all these lieutenants were in the Alamo Lounge at C4 just talking all this shit about how now they're going to run the war the right way and that we messed it up. And shortly there were like 20 to 30 guys in the club ready to do battle. And I got a hold of this major and I said, "We need to get you guys out of here, or you're not going to have any lieutenants left." So he did hustle them out of the Alamo Lounge before the mayhem started.
I got kicked out of 4 Corps after, because I can't tell you who my C4 the B detachment commander was. I can't remember his name, but he was yelling at me to get the men out of Tochow and send them up, and I wouldn't do that. I was sending the women and the kids out of the camp first because there would be nobody to protect them if I sent all the men out. So he got really angry at me and says, "You're getting out of here." And he sent me to A-50 whatever, I forget, 505 or something. I was stuck at Rock Pile 06, which was up in 3 Corps by Nha Trang. It was close to, I was the westernmost outpost for Nha Trang City. I had 100 mountain yards up there, so I got rid of my Cambodians and went to the mountain yards. But he, who is now in jail, he got convicted of murdering his wife or something back at
Marichek.
pardon me?
Marichek. Thomas Marichek. George Marichek.
There you go.
He got convicted of murdering his wife, and now he's in jail. Thank God. He deserved that a long time ago.
He died.
He did?
Hey.
Okay.
He got out.
Right. Hey, Sherman, did you bring fries for all of us?
Go ahead.
I was thinking the same thing.
I was really sad when Major Bridgewater died.
Yeah, his son is here in Houston, and when we do B40, his son will show up.
Okay. Because he was really a nice guy. I mean, when Captain Canavan left 401, they gave us this idiot First Lieutenant Biggie, Dennis Biggie, made captain shortly thereafter. And he was a nightmare. In fact, the team sergeant fired him one night, told him to go to his room. And the next morning we had the card table covered with a white sheet with the officer's mess sign and a Cambodian with a towel over his arm and a menu. He sat down for breakfast at his officer's mess, and the rest of us, we had a short team. There were only 8 of us. The remaining 7 NCOs were sitting at the picnic table where we always ate. And he ate lunch in the officer's mess. And then at dinner, he came over and asked if he could join us. So Bevins, team sergeant, took a vote He got to sit down by one vote, but he never pulled rank again. Also, he hid. When Greg and I were out on our second operation together, we got hit really bad one night, and it lasted about 3 hours. It was like a human wave assault. And they were coming at my portion of the perimeter because I had the south and the west, and Greg had the north and the east. And I called in artillery, close air, and we blunted the attack, and they left a blocking force and withdrew. But the captain had come out the day before. He wanted a CIB and maybe a medal or two. Greg and I walked through the perimeter, and his head popped up out of a fighting position, foxhole. We go, Captain Dickey, is that you? He goes, yeah. Well, you can come out now. It's all over. Well, Major Bridgewater put me in for a Bronze Star Z. But then he transferred, he derolled back to the States. When they closed 401, we were all brought into the B team, and Captain Biggie took the narration, typed in his name with my narration, and Greg and I had to sign it. Well, I refused to sign because it's like, no, he hid the entire time. He's a coward. And then the new major at B40, I had to go into his office, and he said, you got to sign this. I said, well, sir, he hid the entire contact. He was in a fetal position at the bottom of a foxhole. He said, but he needs it for his career. So he gave me a direct order to so there I am at 85, and I'm thinking, how important is my rank? So I signed. But then I got a hold of Major Bridgewater back in 96, and he asked me about the award, and I said, well, Captain Biggie took it. And Tom did not use profanity. I never heard him say a bad word. Darn it was as bad as it got. He cut loose with a whole bunch of profanity. And he went, I was an instructor at the NCO Academy at Fort McCoy. And he resubmitted the paperwork through Senator Cole's office. And it was finally awarded in August of 97. Even had an article in Soldiers Magazine about it. I was like, wow, nice. I mean, that's kind of officer Tom Bridgewater was. He took care of us.
I
Even
don't
after,
know if you guys remember
Pardon?
a guy by the name of Kittleson.
Epic
Galen
Kettleson, yeah.
Galen Kittleson was my team sergeant when I was there. And let me tell you, he was really, really something. I didn't know who he was until my son, I got two sons, and they both went in the Army. One only spent 30 years in, the other one only spent 18 years in. The one that spent 18 years in was because he was killed in Afghanistan. But he got me in touch with Galen, and he was really, really something. When I came down during my son's entombment, I came down from the hotel, and there was Galen with his son waiting for me, and he stood up at attention and said, "Sir, how you doing?" And I says, "Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. Just call me Bob." But I did not realize that he has been in a couple of books, and he is responsible for 3 POW raids, and the first one was in the Second World War. It was really, really something. He's got quite a military history of them.
Mhm.
And finally retired from the Command Sergeant Major of the 3rd Special Forces Group in 2005. And about my son died in November. He was buried at Arlington in December. And when I was, I had a very, very strong feeling that I had to call him back. I got a hold of the phone number and called him back in November of 2006. And I didn't get an answer, but I told him, I says, please give me a call. I want to talk to you. I got to talk to you. The next day, his son-in-law called me back and said, why did you call him then? And I said, well, because I just had a feeling that I wanted to talk to him. And he said, the reason I wanted to talk to him, he says, Bob, they were lowering his casket into his burial spot at that very minute when you called. So I guess they reached us behind the grave. That's for sure. I can tell you that for sure. He was really a good sergeant. Believe me, what a great guy he was. World
Bob.
War II. Yes.
You and I were at Tochow at the same time.
Okay.
You remember Alcaraz?
Perez Communications.
Alcaraz, Randy Sassani, Gary Dollar, Jack Gotsey, Ray Calvert.
I remember Scottsy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember him. I remember that.
and the commo man was Quick.
Yeah, he was French, wasn't he? Or married a French woman? He was
No.
married to a.
Nah, you think about Morin. Frenchie Morin was the French guy.
That's right.
And you remember the guy, he was an African Sinhalese. He spoke French and worked at the camp.
Yes.
And we called him Joe Louis because he looked like Joe Louis.
Yeah, that was something else.
Yeah. So we were there at the same time.
But I can't recall you. I'm sorry. I don't recall you. I apologize.
Well, hell, my wife writes my name on all my shirts. So when I meet people, I can tell them who I am. But we were there, and Ray Calvert and Tet, that's when they split the companies up, and we all went to different cities. I went with Ray and Dollar. We went to Calon, I think Sassani, Ron Simpson, and Jack went to, I think, Chilang and so forth.
Well, all I know is that I went from Tochow, I went from Phuoc because I was put under some pressure because some money was stolen and I got blamed for it and all that good stuff. And I had an Article 15. And I said, what the heck? I don't know what the hell it's all about. But let's see, what was his name? He was he was a Mexican, and he was the XO, and he left within about 2 minutes of me coming. I couldn't even count the money that he had in there. I didn't know what the hell happened to him or nothing. But anyway, we got in a whole bunch of trouble there, and somebody had it in for me because right after I got taken out as the XO at Phuoc, they put me in as CO at Tochow, and the XO who took my place was killed about three weeks after I left. So I was sort of glad I left, believe me. I was sort of glad I left. But Tochow was really a great experience for me, for teaching me stuff and seeing different parts of Cambodia I never thought I'd see again, and having good operations with those Cambodians were fantastic people. That's all I can say. They were fantastic people.
Were you there when Scott got killed?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
Okay, right.
In fact,
So we were there same time because
I was in another operation when he got killed because I was providing some defense for somebody. They were putting in a new fort someplace, a new camp someplace. And then I got word that he died, and he was killed at the same place that he and I always went to practice shooting the M57.
right.
You gotta change the place where you're training at because they're gonna take pot shots at you. And I'll be damned. It wasn't shortly after that, about maybe a month after that, he got killed. He was the only American that I knew that got killed in Vietnam.
There's a guy, I can't remember his name. I think it was Peterson. I was still in the B team. I arrived in September, and toward the end of September, this individual was wounded in the arm. And the next day, somebody was talking in the dining facility at the B team, B40, that he was killed. I go, no, he was wounded. He said, yeah, yesterday. Today he was caught between the eyes with a sniper. I mean, he had a 3-day pass to go to 3rd Surge, air-conditioned wing. And he said, no, just patch me up and I'm going to go back out with my company. Next day, shot between the eyes. I mean, it's like crazy. I mean, if he'd taken the medical advice and could have been flown at the medevac to the 3rd Surge, but he refused.
Mark, can you send me a copy of the actual orders that you got from wherever DA on that
Sure.
award? I see Big E's award for April 25th of 1970.
I'm sorry?
I see Big E got a Bronze Star with V.
Yeah,
on
that's
April- for action on April 25th, 1970.
Right. Well, that was my award.
I would like to have your award to compare it with.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm
so
sure the narration is identical.
send me a copy.
I'd be glad to.
A very interesting little side note. Look, can anybody tell me at what point did 401 at Don Phuoc move to Canto? It did move, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know what happened to him, but like I said, I was sent to 404. I don't remember where Scogren wound up.
no, but you were already at Canto when that was going on, right? You weren't still Don Phuoc when you closed the camp.
Right. In other words, Captain Biggie took care of the opportunity when they closed 401, and we were all together at B40 in Canto, and Major Bridgewater went back to the States. His year was up. And the new B team commander came in, and Captain Biggie apparently thought, well, I got a chance here to get a Bronze Star V. So he took the paperwork, typed up the 638 with his name as the awardee, and used the narration that Major Bridgewater from, in other words, when I was in the contact, I was talking to Major Bridgewater, calling in the artillery and the close air support. And from that conversation for almost 3 hours, he wrote up the narration and the after action report. And so probably the narration is exactly the same. It'd be interesting to find out.
The team had already moved
Yeah.
to Canto. They had
Right.
left Don Phuoc probably about 1968 or sometime.
Well, they
No,
moved in May of 70 to
no,
Canto.
we were still at Don Phuoc. Mike, we were still at Don Phuoc in 68, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you closed at Don Phuoc in May of 71,
70.
70 rather.
70, yeah.
Okay. Well, the note I have says that what was at Don Phuoc was turned over to Rough Buff, not to Border Rangers.
Right. Well, the Rough Puff came in to hold the camp because when they took the Cambodians away, we had no defense.
Mhm.
So they brought in the Rough Puff to man the wall during the night. And during the day, they left. And they would come back at night.
Well, there are 10 camps that were turned over to Border Rangers.
Yeah.
And they had a different history than in the other core areas. I think it was in 1972 that they were all put together into one Ranger unit, which then made a successful, a relatively successful assault on Nui Kodo. And then they're shipped out at 4 Corps. There are no more Border Ranger units in 4 Corps. which was kind of
Who
interesting.
made a successful assault on Nuikoto?
10 Border Ranger battalions, every one of the camps that was on there.
I can never remember anything being successful on Koto.
Well, at that point, the NVA had really, after the 72 offensive, all over the country, the NVA was really in a very weak position. There was an area around they called Tree Fop, which had been Tree Fop up by Phuoc, that was a base area for the NVA, and they got kicked out of it in 72. So 72, the Delta had achieved one of its most, best controlled situations that it had forever. And they actually disbanded. Well, they didn't disband. They shipped out all of the Border Rangers from Phuoc.
Sherman, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to check out here.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I'll email you that paperwork, the citation. In fact, I'll send you all of it, the correspondence, everything.
Okay.
Okay.
See you next month. Look for you
Goodbye.
next month.
I'll see you at some of the other camps that you're going to be at, right, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm at Lake Michigan right now.
Can't be in Michigan. There's no snow.
Oh, come on. It's beautiful. Summertime. How do I get out of here?
You can't.
There's
Go
a red
find one of
button
your
that says
You're
leave.
there.
grandkids to fix it for you.
Okay.
Ed, I put Peter Crummey's address on an email that I sent to you. Ed Duclos?
Yeah,
I put Peter Crummey's email and his wife's email on an email that I CC'd you on. Did you see that?
Ed, he's talking to you.
yeah, wait a minute.
He said he included Peter's email on an email that he sent to you. Did you get it?
Yeah,
You did?
yeah, I got that, except you misspelled his last name again.
No, he wanted the EY. He insisted upon that. I don't know
Yeah, because
why.
I guess is that his wife or his daughter that,
Well, whoever
Read
it
it.
was, she came back and had me send her a copy to make sure that he got whatever I sent.
okay,
So, yeah, but I had no further response, and I didn't get any email kicked back to me.
Oh, so that's the email.
So it probably works, but I don't know. I'm having trouble with my email. I don't trust it kicking back. I look
okay,
and track, it's not there. It may not be there.
yeah. I was hoping to see Fred McKenzie on this, and he told me he was gonna
I just texted
log
him.
in, but I
He
don't
was
know where-
invited.
I just texted him.
okay.
Yeah.
Ed, did Pretty Boy come to see you? Did you hear me?
Who's Pretty Boy?
Hang on a second, my hearing is horrible.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Are you
Did
talking
Pretty
to
Boy
him?
come? Yes. Did Pretty Boy
Pretty
come
Boy.
see him?
Did Pretty Boy come see you?
Who's that?
Ask him.
Who is that?
Interpreter from Don Phuoc. We used to call him Pretty Boy.
The interpreter from Don Phuoc. He used to call him Pretty Boy. He wants to know if he came to see.
Okay, which one was that? Was that the one who got shot through the back of both thighs by one of my teammates who was cleaning his empty pistol?
No, he was with us, and then when they closed down Don Phuoc, he came over to the airboat site. And then when the group left, he went as an interpreter with the SEAL team. He lost his leg with the SEAL team. He lives up in Oklahoma City now.
Huh. Yeah, I'd have to see his face.
He mentioned your name. Are you in Alabama?
No, North Carolina.
Maybe he meant North Carolina, but I thought he said Alabama, but hell. Like I say, the only reason I know my name is because my wife writes it on my shirt.
Well, they used them. Oh, they didn't have any.
Oh.
Okay, now I'm gonna talk into your ear so you can hear me. Okay, okay, when I was out there.
Look, Don,
Yeah.
if you're in touch with any interpreters that are on the other camps, feel free
Yeah,
to
go
feel
ahead.
free to invite them to the Zoom meeting.
Yeah,
Because-
well, I've had 3 of them come visit me. And one lives in Oklahoma City. He came down and spent 2 days. And one lives in Philadelphia, came down for a weekend. And I visited one in Chicago.
Well, if you're in touch with them and they're from 402, 403, 404, 405, you have the schedule of all the meetings going on this week.
Right. And
I-
are all times Eastern Standard Time?
All Eastern Standard Time, right?
Okay.
Because I've had a couple of cases where nurses or interpreters join in, and that's really been very good because their span of the time they were at a given camp was longer than most of the Americans that were there. So they have a lot of insight to things that happened over a spread of time.
Yeah.
And the ones
No,
with
they-
interpreters are pretty good with English right now.
Yeah, they've contacted me for the last 4 years, and I've seen them at least up until COVID, at least once a year.
Mhm. Well, they're very much invited to these Zoom sessions because they add a lot to what we get.
Yeah. Michael Diesel's coming down. I might can make it over there to Las Cruces.
All right, bud. I got lots of room.
Well, I still got my home on wheels.
Well, it ain't doing no good sitting there.
Yeah, in fact, there's a couple places. I've been reading this book about the Buffalo Soldiers, and there's about 4 places in New Mexico and Arizona I want to check out.
Well, yeah.
And you're a pretty good historian on that goddamn area, so I might even buy you a beer and take you with me.
Okay, sounds good to me. Yeah,
It's hard. Since '66, we've known each other, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Wow. And we're still here.
We're still here. I don't know how, but never thought
Nobody
I'd
wants
get this
me.
far.
Hell, nobody wants me. First time I got cancer, and they went to St. Peter and said, we got Don Blue lined up. They would have said, oh no, we don't want him up here. Then see if they want him downstairs. And they said, yeah, we got enough trouble down here. Y'all keep him. So I'm still here.
There you go.
Don, is that you?
Yeah.
It's me, Mark.
Yes, Mark, I recognize you.
Oh, okay.
Even-
I'm at the lake.
Yeah, you
Well, actually,
said
it's
that.
Lake. Here's
It's okay, it's okay.
my Nancy. Anyway,
Yeah.
how you doing?
I'm still here.
Oh, good. I could tell.
Yep. Yeah, I was out messing with my chicken coop. My wife said, somebody's on the phone for you. And I'm going, okay. But I didn't even, I just saw 1 o'clock and I assumed it was 1 o'clock Central Time. So
How's Mary Beth?
she's doing good. Her mom and dad's having some challenges. And so
Yeah.
dealing with that. But all is good.
How many acres do you have? I couldn't remember.
14.
14 acres. Wow.
Yeah.
Are
That
you?
way I don't have any neighbors.
Yeah, but are you farming that 14?
I got 4 chickens.
4 chickens.
Yeah, 4 chickens and some vegetables. That's enough.
How's your dog doing?
Always with me. That's the only woman that listens to me.
Pardon?
She's the only woman that will listen to me.
Okay. Or did I bring you up to date?
Yeah, hey, Steve,
Right.
I thought Ray Ross had passed away.
Who?
Ray Ross.
Don't know.
He got wounded in 70.
Okay. Well, the only ones from 401.
No, he was from 404 when he got wounded.
Okay. Because Riley Lott, Greg Skoglin, and David Susi all died from stomach cancer.
Because you remember, Mike, when you, Gilbert, and I were supposed to meet with Ray and take him up to his sister's place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gilbert and I did.
Yeah, I know. I got my dates mixed up. Remember, I showed up.
I know.
I
You're
showed up at Albuquerque a week earlier, a week late.
I think you were late.
Well, you know.
Like I had Ross in Florida, in Silver Spring, Florida, but I haven't been able to reach him with the numbers that I had.
Yeah. Someone told me he retired from the post office and got him a 5th wheel and became a missionary. And then someone told me he had passed away.
Well, I didn't find any obituary, but I didn't find him around. His email didn't bounce, but his phone numbers I had were disconnected, and I was not able to find a good working phone number for him. So I don't know.
And Thurston did pass away, right?
Thurston.
Donald Thurston. Yeah.
Lieutenant. Yeah.
Yeah. Hell, he was younger than we were.
I remember I carried him up on the bottom of Kodo on my back to the middle of the goddamn field to get him medevac when he got shot. And could not find him. You know, I think they sent him to Japan and then back to the States.
He hung in there until 2016.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, because that was I just was sure he was not going to make it.
To go walk along the beach with Nancy.
Yeah.
That's Lake Michigan. Hey, Don?
Yes.
You know how the water looks at Canyon Lake? Kind of like murky green? Well,
No, it's
Lake
pretty
Michigan.
clear.
Look at it.
It's
Crystal
pretty clear.
Yeah. You can still see your feet out where Nancy's standing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like Texas and all, but it's just too hot. When I'd go down, I'm acclimated to Michigan. So when I go to San Antonio to visit my mom, I couldn't breathe. It was too thick. And yes, it does snow, but it does melt.
Hey, Steve.
Hi.
Can you hear me? This is Gary
Mhm.
Keel.
I hear you. I see you.
All right, good.
And
Make sure my microphone's working.
yeah, get your head up by the camera so we can see your face. There you go.
All right.
You and Don were both medics on the team. I don't know you
Oh,
were there
yeah.
at the same time.
Buxy Blue,
Yeah,
how
I
are
used to
you,
know.
sir?
I'm still here.
Yeah, you were there in Don Phuoc before I was,
Okay.
weren't you?
I you know, I
Yeah.
was at High-End, Tochow, Muckwa, Don Phuoc, and Calon.
Okay. Yeah, you were Don Phuoc in 67, 68. So
Right.
I was one of the medics that replaced you.
That's what, then I went to Calon, I think, probably.
Yeah, you stayed in country for a couple of years there, didn't you?
More than a minute. I wanted to be like Burleson. Him and Gilbert were my role model.
Wow. Well, it's an honor to finally see who you are, because I never met you. I just heard stories.
The good ones, right?
They were all good, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Didn't you do a C-section?
Yeah, I did a C-section.
I heard about that. I heard you got on with SFOB, and you got the doc on, and he talked you through it. And the baby lived and the mother lived.
No, the baby had passed away. That's the reason we did the C-section.
Oh, is that right? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, didn't know what to do.
Well, I wouldn't either. I've never done one.
And we didn't have YouTube, so.
Yeah. Hey, Blue, I went on to PA school. So I became a physician assistant, and I was in class 5 and graduated in 74, I guess.
Yeah,
January
well,
74.
I was supposed to be in class 2.
Yeah.
And I came on orders for JCRC. And I said, you know, I'm selected to go to class 2. And they said, no, this has priority. So you have to go to Thailand. And when you come back, we'll put you in whatever class it would be. When we got back from Thailand, they didn't know I was selected for the thing. And I just said, the hell with it.
Well, I retired from practicing 10 years ago. So I was a PA for 35 years after I was a Special Forces medic.
Yeah. But I lucked out when I didn't go to that. I ended up finding a beautiful lieutenant who was a nurse who made captain, and she said she would grace me for the next 40 years, and she's been doing a pretty good damn job. So.
Well, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. So where you live at?
I live in Granbury, Texas, just south of Fort Worth.
Oh, you just up the road.
Where are you at?
I live in Canyon Lake in
Oh,
New Braunfels.
Yeah, I know where that's at. I had a timeshare there at that resort for a bunch of years.
Yeah. You know, in fact, Mike, didn't we go up to Granbury when we all got together? Tommy Daniels and all of us that were at Don Phuoc? Was that Granbury?
Well, I don't know. It wasn't me.
No, I'm talking to Mike.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, we were up there. Shit. About what, 90?
Nah. Hell, I don't remember when it was.
Yeah. So we had Tommy Daniels, Sasani, you, John Lay.
It ain't it. When did you say?
I think it was 70. No.
You said 90.
90. Yeah, 90.
No, it was later than that because I was living there in Las Cruces then when we went over there.
and George.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I-
we're up. We're up there, Granbury, up there by the lake. We stay right across from the lake.
Yeah.
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 They just built that lake about 15 years before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lake Granbury.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't here then. I didn't get here till 97.
Okay.
Well, it was probably around 2010 or somewhere.
Mike, you were at Don Phuoc?
Yeah. I
When?
left in 68.
Okay, I got there in 68.
I left in November 6. No, around, I think I left in July. I had to leave it.
You
I
were
had to leave
asked
in a
to
hurry.
leave. You were asked to leave.
Yeah.
They don't take
I had to leave
kindly
in a
to-
hurry.
Yeah, they don't take
Oh,
kindly for
okay.
these sixes whooping on officers.
Wow. Was that Lieutenant Solomon or?
Nah, oh, Larry Solomon was good people.
Yeah. No, I put a nuke's head in a tail rotor. One of the LLDB supply sergeant.
Yeah.
He was carrying well, he wasn't carrying, he was dragging a sack full of grenades out to a helicopter that they had called in. And I went and checked on, why is that helicopter out there? And there come this dudes out there dragging a sack full of grenades. That was BC son of a bitch. I'm standing there, I didn't have no weapon with me. I just grabbed him, put a big hug on him, picked him up. Well, what am I going to do with him now? I can't turn him loose. I stuck his head in the tail rotor.
Well, that's neat.
So they immediately sent a chopper out to pick me up.
LLDB stands for those little dirty bastards.
Yeah.
That's what we called them, LLDB. Half of them were queer.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But anyway, I had to leave. Next thing I know, I was sitting at Sergeant Major's office, some major come in and started mouthing off, and I decked him.
That was Drinkwater.
Yeah, he was S4 or something, I don't know. But goddamn, he done got a bunch of us killed, so.
All right, look,
He was F2, I think.
Yeah.
here is a map, and this is where the reports put Don Phuoc. It doesn't seem right to me. What the hell was all this? This is housing, the villages, or what?
There was a small village north of the camp, between the camp and Cambodia, and there was a little road that went straight up to the border. How far was it, Mike? Maybe 3 miles?
Yeah,
Yeah.
about that. And Kai Kai was over there.
And Kai Kai was east, probably 6-7 miles away.
Well, this is, if there's doesn't look like a road, looks like there's a path up here until it becomes a road further up over here.
I thought Kai Kai was west of us toward Cambodia.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did I say? East. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it was west.
No, Kai Kai, it says Rock Kai
Kai
Kai.
Kai was in
Kai Kai
range.
is right there.
Oh, is that it?
Kai Kai is northeast, and it's on the river.
It's right on the river. Yeah.
But I don't see you on any waterway.
No,
Oh.
we weren't on the waterway. Kai Kai was on the waterway. But if you went on up, there was, depending on the time of the year, a river that separated us from Vietnam from Cambodia.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it's the right time of the year, we're surrounded with water.
Yeah,
Don,
Okay,
yes, sir.
here is the border up here,
Right.
map. So this looks like a path up here, and this is a canal. This is not a path. This is a canal.
Yeah. Yeah, everything was canals.
Yeah, but in the dry season, we used to take our three-quarter ton and run over to Kai Kai to trade stuff.
Yeah. Oh, during the wet season, we'd run over there in the airboat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Kai Kai getting hit almost every day with mortars.
The
from
target
Cambodia.
practice.
Huh?
It was target practice for them.
Yeah.
What were you driving on? There doesn't seem to be anything navigable over here.
Oh, when it was during the dry season, it was just like running across the open field damn near.
Well, maybe. I don't know if this is a path or what.
Guys, I haven't seen a map and especially a map of Vietnam. I haven't seen one in 40 years.
Well, I put 1 over 50s for each camp up on the website in the last couple of months. So yeah, everybody's got camp maps.
Access to it. Okay.
hey, Don,
Yeah.
you still got that map with Nui Koto on it I gave you?
A map of Koto?
I was, I had a map sheet with Nui Koto on the sheet. And I gave it to you and you just about freaked out when you saw Nui Koto.
Well, I would have freaked out because I spent probably 4 or 5 months on that mountain.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well-
Bob Crandall.
Is that Crandall there?
Yeah, he's trying to come on. There he is. Hey, Bob. Crandall, you hear us?
Randall,
He probably got it on mute.
Oh, his microphone's there. It looks like
no,
it's
he's a
working.
no, Randall's a commo guy. He knows how to do this.
Hey, Bob, can you hear us?
Apparently not. I don't know what he's
Yes, you
doing,
can't.
but it looks like he's got his microphone on. So he shouldn't be having any problem with it.
Well, I'll tell you what, while he's going up, can I tell Boxy Blue a little story?
Go ahead.
Yeah, there was a Vietnamese woman brought her daughter to our camp one day, and I was the medic then after you left, and she said this child had been having seizures and she'd never had them before. So I examined her, took her temperature, and asked things like, had she stepped on anything that got infected or on her feet or anything like that? She said, well, by golly, yeah, she did. She showed me her foot and there was a little sign of infection there. And this child had never had tetanus vaccine, none of those kids did. So I thought, this might be tetanus. And so I started meprobamate and some antibiotic, and I had tetanus toxoid and tetanus antitoxin both in the freezer. So I got it out and started treating her. And by day 3 or 4, I realized it was going to be running out. So I called SFOB and I said, can you send a chopper here, pick up this girl and take her into the hospital? And they said, well, yeah, because we can't get you the vaccine any sooner, so we might as well pick her up. So they did. They took her to 121 evac, and 121 the doctors examined her there in the emergency room. And who was our PSYOPs captain at that time? Do you remember? anyway, he was there and he said, this girl doesn't have tetanus. We don't even see tetanus anymore. And so they stopped the treatment with antitoxin, and she started going into what we call rhisis sardonicus. That's that's
Rhesus without a smile.
You know,
The
like
rhesus without a smile. Yep.
Yep. And so they said, oops, I guess she does have tetanus. Yeah, and the S5 that was there at the emergency room at the time says, don't you ever cuss one of my special forces medics out. He's doing a great job there, and he outdiagnosed you. But that's the only case of tetanus I've ever seen.
Nah, it's, we would run into things. Hey, Michael,
Yeah,
you remember at High End when all those babies were dying?
yeah.
And, trying to figure out, and I was feeling bad, and I got permission. We went up to the village, and they said, oh, don't worry, Boxy, buku babies dying. I'm going, what the hell is going on? All the kids, babies are dying. So we finally put out a thing and said if they have diarrhea and so on up, bring them in, and we start doing cut downs and running IVs. And so I got out my trusty Merck manual, and I said, could it be cholera? Well, if it's cholera, why is it only affecting kids?
Yeah.
And then we finally sent the damn thing up, and they had a cholera outbreak, but Father Wall had gotten cholera vaccine probably a year ago, and these babies hadn't been born, and they ended up getting cholera. And we must have had about 15 or 30 kids in the damn little hospital with cholera, and nobody knew what it was until we finally got the little sample and sent it up to Canto.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gee.
Bob, are you here?
Bob Crandall, you hearing us?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Hey, Bob, welcome.
Hello. Yeah, I got my times messed up. I didn't think about Eastern and Mountain.
See, I'm not the only one.
Hey, Bob.
I did big bold letters in red.
Hey, Bob, aren't you a Como guy?
Oh yeah, at one point.
He was.
Yeah,
he was.
that bug you gave me when I came to 401, you left behind a bug.
I did, yeah. You still have it?
No, I took it with me when I was processing out of country. I had it at 404, and then I was on this. They had me for about a week at the C team, C4, working in the signal company, and some guy stole it. Not only that, it was on top of my bunk, and I had some NVA TA50. They took the NVA TA50 and the bug. I'm like, that's not right. He should have probably told me, and I would have given him a story that he could tell about the web gear.
Yeah, because he had no idea what the bug was.
The bug was that fast telegraph thing.
It was kind of side to side. It had the line.
Yeah. Hey,
I
Bob.
got one down in the basement.
Hey, Bob. This is Gary Keel. Do you remember me?
I do. Yes. Hello.
All right. You know that I was the only one beside you Como guys that could tune that KWMC alpha, KWM2 alpha. You taught me how to tune it without burning it up.
I taught you?
Yep.
Well, I don't remember that part.
Bob, the KWM2A at 401, I burned one up, and the signal company at Canto sent me another one, and it burned up. And then they sent me a message with the second one, that's the last one you're getting. Well, I mean, it was really hot in that Como room, and the third one died. And they sent me a message that, no, you're not getting any more. So then I sent a Zulu flash that our Como is down. We cannot contact the B40 at Canto. And because of the nature of the message being Zulu flash, about a half hour later, they brought me out of KWM2A.
Really?
Well,
And a fan, and a fan.
did you ever get that, that 2020 volt air conditioner working?
No,
They sent that out for me to replace the trailer that used to sit outside. We had, I don't know if that trailer was still there that used
No.
to air condition outside. They sent me that 2020 volt or 220 volt air conditioner, and I thought I knew what I was doing and installed it, and it worked for about an hour before whatever I did burned it up. So
no, they
you're
sent me a
talking about
fan.
talking about the KWM2A. I see Don's on the Boxy Blues on the feed here. How you doing, Blue?
I'm hanging in there, brother.
So I don't remember how long I'd been at camp when I first arrived. Most of the people were out on mission, and it was just whoever the commo man was that I was replacing. It was I think October of '68. It was before we went back out to Koto, and so, but later on, everybody was back in camp, and so we're having a weekend party, and I'm a pretty young kid. I was definitely the youngest one on the team at that time, and so Foxy Blue comes over to me and gives me these green pills, and he goes, "Here, you ought to take some of these so you can keep up with us as we drink through the night." And so I took some of those dexamphetamines, and I must have taken too many, because at one point I found myself, I have no idea what time it was, day or night, but we'd been drinking through the day, and I found myself in the commo room, and I'd done something with the KWM2, but I was high as a kite. And I pulled that KWM2 apart, and I was going to fix it. And I was tearing it apart. I had the soldering iron in there. I was actually taking pieces out of the KWM2, not having any idea what I was doing. And I don't know if you recall, but when you're sitting at the radio, off to the left-hand side was a file cabinet that was kind of a turquoise blue color.
Yeah.
Well, Blue had a t-shirt that was that same color. And I sat there working on that KWM2, talking to that file cabinet for I don't know how long, thinking I was talking to Boxy Blue, and he comes in the team into the commo shack and said something to me, and all I remember about the interchange was that I asked him, I said, "Well, you've been sitting there all the time," and he was like, "No, I just came in. I don't know who you've been talking to." But that KWM2 had to go back to the C team and be replaced.
That's probably the one they sent me.
When were you there, Mark?
I arrived at the end of December '69, and I was there until it closed in May of '70.
Okay. Well, you
And-
got there 2 months after I left, so.
Yeah, well, Greg Skoglin replaced you because we only had one medic and one commo, because the team only had 8 guys on it.
When
Was
did
Bevan-
Riley get shipped out?
Pardon?
When did Riley get shipped out? Because he got sick.
Around February, I believe, February or March. He
All
got
right.
sent back to the States, and then he came back after 30 days. But he came out to 401 just for a couple days because he was reassigned at, I can't remember what team. But yeah, my mind's time is.
Yeah.
Well, we know, we all know
Welcome
that.
to my world.
Randall,
Jerry,
I think
Jerry-
I think I replaced you as the youngest guy.
did you?
Yeah, because when I got there, they were like, "Do you even shave?" And I looked like I was 12. And so my nickname for the first couple months was the kid. And then it was Baby Huey. In fact, after 3 days, Captain Canavan told Locke to get his company ready and to take the kid with him. I was like, it's only my third day. Where's this crawl, walk, run? And Paul Smythe goes, nope, you're going to the field, son. Pack your ruck. He said, look, I tell you what, some advice. When Lot shoots, shoot the same direction. When Lot gets down, you get down.
Yeah.
And if Lot runs, now remember, Lot don't run. But if he does, it means your whole situation is just gone south. Stay up with him.
We lost Ed?
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew Ed.
Pardon?
Hey, Ed, you're back.
Lot died about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Riley
Cancer.
Lott did?
Yeah,
Yeah, he had cancer.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, David Susi, Greg Skoglund, and Riley Lott all passed away from the same stomach cancer.
Really?
It's crazy. Well, Agent Orange.
Yeah, well, I'm disabled to some degree with Agent Orange. Sushi, after I left in September, I guess, or maybe early October, I forget which, to go back to school, because I was pre-med at Texas Wesleyan College in Fort Worth. And so I got dropped like a couple weeks early to start school there. And Pappy Clark sent me a letter, told me that Ed was drunk one day, Sushi, and he put a gun to his eye and a revolver and said, well, gee whiz, playing Russian roulette's a piece of cake because you can look down the barrel and see if there's a bullet there, and bang, and he shoots his eye out.
Right, the
No
left
wonder
eye.
he didn't kill himself.
No. Greg Skoglund, medic, was in the Jeep with him. Greg dived out of the Jeep thinking it was a sniper. He looked up and Susie was slumped over the back of the driver's seat. And he felt for a pulse and actually found a pulse. And just at that moment, the 5th Group surgeon was landing by the this landing pad on top of a hill.
Yeah.
Greg rushed up carrying Susie, and the surgeon waved to the helicopter to don't shut down. And he was medevac to the 3rd Surge, from there to Japan, and from there to Walter Reed. He lost an eye, but he lived. And the oddest thing, I was at the end of my career, I was the operations NCO for an infantry regiment that fought in Russia with the Canadians and in the World War I. So we had a ceremony at Whitechapel Cemetery, and we invited the Canadian unit from Windsor. It was the Windsor-Kent Regiment. And it turned out that Susie was their regimental sergeant major. And he saw that I had a tab, and he said, oh, my brother was in Special Forces. And I looked at his name tag, and I'm like, oh my God. He said, tell me the truth, because they said he was hit by a sniper. Tell me the truth. What happened? So I was on the spot. I'm like, okay, here it is. I said he was playing with a revolver, and he was looking down the barrel. Apparently his thumb slipped, and it fired. And it circumvented his head, within, around the skull, and exited the back. He lost the eye, but he also lost an arm and a leg from a assault where he and another company were assaulting a Nui Guy bunker complex. And I was standing by Major Bridgewater when he shouted to Captain Southworth, Susie, Silver Star, start taking notes. And his brother said, yeah, he got the Silver Star and plus other awards. But it was kind of like I felt nervous, coming clean with the facts, because the family accepted the fact that he was hit with a sniper. Instead of being, playing with a gun and being stupid.
He was in Lang at the time, was my understanding.
Pardon?
The Jeep, he was parked outside. Riley was in, so I got a slightly different story. Riley told me they were getting scrambled to go on a mission. We were at the B team there. That's Lang, right?
Yeah, B-43.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lang B-43.
And they were in the Jeep, and Riley had gone in to scramble the troops out and roused them up to get ready to deploy. And when he came out, that's when he found Sushi slumped over, and he wasn't.
Greg Skolden was sitting in the seat next to him when it
I
happened.
didn't know that.
Yeah, and Greg said he dived out of the Jeep thinking that it was a sniper, and he looked up and saw him slumped. So he checked for a pulse, found one, and that's when the fifth group surgeon had just landed. I mean, it was just a lucky thing, the chain of events.
Mark, you said the family doesn't know
the truth.
Okay.
Well, his brother does now, because I told him.
A little follow-up on that. Who else was on the team at the time that it happened? Anyone here?
Team Sergeant Bevins, Stebbins.
Well, Riley was there.
Yeah, Riley, Donald Stebbins, Captain Mike, but he was replaced by Captain Biggie, who turned out to be an absolute idiot captain. I mean, he actually hid at the bottom of a foxhole that was in the center of the perimeter for the 60 Mike mortar crew. And after it was close to a 3-hour battle where they tried to bum rush our perimeter, our OP saved our life because they fired a 6-round burst, and Greg put the candle out. We were playing cards by candlelight, stupid. That's why Chet, that picnic table area? That's why Chet, the Buddhist pagoda. And my position was the south and the west. Greg went to the north and the east of the perimeter. And when I arrived, there were all these NVA on a Japanese style human wave attack. I got on radio to Major Bridgewater at the B team forward, or B-40 forward, called in artillery. Now, I remember that we used objects, not TRPs, numbers, because I remember calling Treehouse Rock fire for effect. Like that's what I had on my map from the talk. And within minutes, just boom, 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 boom. And it kind of blunted it. And then a C-130 gunship radioed me and said, "This is the Shadow. Give me a grid square." So I gave this gunship a grid square, and he said, "Sit back, your battle's over." And he just decimated that grid square. I estimated where the main force was located because they were going back to Nui Kham. And Greg and I were walking through now Greg pulled a stunt that I was just mystified. He ran through enemy fire because he got word that an OP was wounded. And so it was on the west side of the perimeter, about 100 meters out. And Greg ran past me. Greg was a tall, blonde, skinny guy. And he had no equipment except for his aid kit. His shirt was unbuttoned, and his blonde hair, I could see it through the parachute flares that his tiger stripe shirt was waving and his hair was blowing in the wind. And his interpreter stopped next to me. I go, where is Greg going? He said, OP wounded, Greg, go get. Foxy, go get. I'm like, God. So I took a squad forward of the perimeter to create a wall of fire. And because the NVA had left behind a blocking force, and without realizing it, I caught the blocking force in a crossfire from the perimeter and our shooting out at an angle. And that's when I wet my pants, because I'm like, what the fuck am I doing out here? And that's when my abdomen and my thighs went weak. And I saw Greg carrying the Cambodian on his back, got him inside the perimeter, threw him down, started working on him. I rolled the squad back in, and I felt the warmth and dampness. And I'm like, God, am I hit? I fell down and smelled my hand. I said, oh my God, I just pissed in my pants. So I covered it with dirt, and by morning, it was dry. But when Greg and I were walking through the perimeter, this head popped out of a fighting position for the mortar crew. And Greg goes, Captain Diggy, is that you? He goes, yeah, you can come out now, sir, it's all over. And when Major Bridgewater left to go to the States to DeRose, Captain Diggy took the opportunity and took the narrative from my Bronze Star V that Major Bridgewater wrote and typed up a 638 for him. And October of 70, he got the Bronze Star V for hiding at the bottom of a foxhole. The thing that pissed me off was the new major, B team, called me into his office to sign the 638 as a witness. I said, sir, I can't sign that. He goes, why? Well, because he hid the entire time, bottom of a foxhole in a fetal position. Well, he needs it for his career. I'm like, then he gave me a direct order. Now I had just made E5, and I'm like, okay, how important is my rank to me at the time and place? So I acquiesced, I signed, and he was awarded it. 1996, I got a hold of Major Bridgewater, retired colonel, 10th Group Commander, and he asked me about the award, and I said, no, Captain Dickey stole it. And he cut loose with a string of profanity, because he never used profanity, and it kind of surprised me. And he resubmitted, because at that time I was an instructor at the NCO Academy at Fort McCoy. He submitted the paperwork through Senator Cole's office, and it was awarded August of 97. And Sherman wants a copy of that to compare it with the citation that Captain Biggie got to see if the narrative is exactly the same, which I'm sure it is. So he will make that correction that no, Captain Biggie did not get a Bronze Star, or shouldn't have. Anyway, Master Sergeant Bevins fired him one night, told him to go to his room, to shut up and go to his room. He goes, I'm in command here. And then Bevins goes, okay, all those who think the captain is a command, raise your hand. Nobody raised their hand. He goes, there it is, sir. You just lost your position. He said, I am a commissioned officer. He goes, not tonight, go to your room. And next morning, we had a card table, the card table at Don Phuoc by the, in front of the bar. We had it covered with a white sheet, a Cambodian with a towel on his arm, and a sign that said officer's mess. And he sat down at the officer's mess for breakfast, same thing for lunch. Now by dinner time, that picnic table we had where we all ate at, he came over with his plate, asking if he could sit down with us, join us. And we took another vote. He got to sit down by one vote. So he never tried to pull rank again. Anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking by it. Oh, by the way, the wave propagation manual you left for me, Bob, the rats got to it.
No
I mean,
way.
it was all eaten up.
So,
I mean, the rats had the tracked meat in the rafters at night.
well, they had that, and that back entrance in between. I don't know if they still had the area where where the boats cleaned their weapons when we came back, and then the supply shed was behind there. We had all those rat traps along there that the rats would come along and and chow down on the, the rat poison because they loved it. So
Well, you know,
they would
the
get in
medic-
that back entrance. Yeah, go
the
ahead.
medic was paying the Cambodian troops' children 10 piastres for every rat they brought in. Well, we did a health inspection of the housing area, opened a trap door, and they were raising them. And they would then take about a dozen, put them in cages and take them in to get their money. I mean, you know, it's like a junior 4F project or 4H, whatever it is.
One thing I'd like to finish with the sushi. So
Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
I don't know how long after he was medevac to, I guess he went to the States or went to Canada, either way.
He went to the third and then to the States.
We received a letter from him, the team did.
Yeah.
And he must have been going through some form of a rehab. And it was addressed to us as a team. And I don't recall what he wrote, but it was like maybe a line, 2 lines, and then a half a line, and then it just kind of dribbled off as though he maybe had phased out and someone had taken and folded it up and sent it to us and mailed it to us. And about a month later, maybe longer, maybe shorter, we received another letter from him. And this one was actually, it made sense.
Yeah.
And it was a full paragraph and he signed it. And that's all I remember of that. But I do remember that he sent us two letters to let us know that he was alive and getting better.
Look,
Well, he lost because of his wounds in that frontal assault on that bunker complex at Nui Gai. He lost an arm eventually and a leg because his RTO Cambodian was hit in the chest with a B-40 rocket, and he got shrapnel from that, but he still carried on. So when I spoke with him last, he said, you know, it's a good thing we got issued 2 eyes, 2 arms, and 2 legs, because now I have 1 of each. But he was married, had a family, and lived in a couple acres of land in Florida. So he did all right.
Look,
Hey, Ed,
the Susie got a Silver Star for an accident.
Guys, I got to go. My wife, we're here at the lake. You can see Lake Michigan here. And it's crystal clear.
Nice. Very nice. Well, thanks, Mark. Appreciate your stories.
Yeah, well, we got to do this again sometime.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm out. Bye.
You all got the email addresses. You can carry on yourself by putting this together. They'll give you 40 minutes free on Zoom anytime you want.
Okay.
All right, look, on Susie, he got a Silver Star on 11/24/69 and a Purple Heart.
Yeah.
Now, I have that's about 2 weeks before he seems to have been medically evacuated. So they had that bullet in him for 2 weeks, and then he shot himself in the eye.
Okay, I don't understand the timeline myself. To try to put a date to anything, I usually go off of when Captain Narzola and was wounded and Tom Tucker was KIA on top of the rock pile. That was, I believe, November 11th or the 7th of 69. After that, we evac'd the rock pile. There were other teams still had 614 and 424, but we were off the rock pile. At that time, I remember that whatever went on with Susie actually happened prior to that date. So if you have that as, you know, what went on, I'm not at all familiar with his being wounded on Nui Jai. So that's new information for me. And
I have
and I
his
can't
Silver
fill
Star
in.
Award, and I have his
Oh.
Purple Heart Award, and they
All
both
right.
have date of action that I just mentioned. And as I said, it looks like 2 weeks later, he's gone. So I also don't have Scoglin there at that time. I have Scoglin tour at 403, though he may have split his time up between more than one camp. So if Scoglin was there at the beginning of his tour at 401, that would make sense.
Hey, Ed, can you can hear us, right?
Yeah,
You're
Ed can
muted.
hear, but he's not got his microphone on.
No, he's got that turned off. Let's see.
I'll ask him to unmute. Okay.
Oh, there you go. I'm Gary Keel. I don't know you. I don't think. Ed?
So he was there earlier.
Yeah,
He was on the original People with to Don Phuoc.
Okay, so you were there in 67, 68,
65.
65. Oh,
yeah, the first few months in 65.
okay.
Was that A430 then?
No, it was Task
Sorry?
Force Green. It was called
Yeah,
Task
they
Force
were-
Green. It was a fifth
Yeah,
group.
they were using a
Yes.
different numbering scheme when I was there.
Okay.
But while I was there, 411, 412, and 413. 413 when we moved over and built Kai Kai.
What year was that?
65.
You built Kai Kai in 65.
Yeah.
Does anybody have dates for Scoglin being at 401?
I know.
Mark seems to have recognized him at 401. And it's part of the story for Susie.
You know, hey, Steve, after TET, VTET, that's when things got all hodgepodge. In fact, that's when we became the Mobile Strike Force Command, and they got a team off of,
A lot of those guys since 1970.
yeah, in 1970s, Phuoc Island, we got some people from, and because at first it was Don Phuoc, Calon, and Tochow, and that was it. And then after TET, they moved from Tochow to set up B40 at Canto, because for a while, B40 with Sergeant Major, what's his name? The first Sergeant Major we had was at Don Phuoc for a while, and then he moved back to Canto.
Malika?
Malika, yeah. And then after they start shuttling people around and so forth, I mean, you come back from the field and you look and there was nobody on the team you could recognize.
Very true.
Does anybody remember John Hess?
The
Who?
name rings a bell.
John was the E7 when I was there in Don Phuoc, and he went on and made Command Sergeant Major, and he's retired, and he lives between Dallas and Fort Worth area. And John and I had not seen each other since 1968 or 69, until we met about 6 months ago. We got together and had a good visit. And John is supposed to be on here, I think.
Well, I sent him an email, but I had his
Yeah.
address and phone number were all in Fayetteville. And I talked to him way back in 2004.
Oh, you're right. He is in Fayetteville. It was his daughter that I went and saw him in there in Dallas.
He never answered any of my phone calls, and I've been calling him up for about 2 months for various camps that he was at. So I don't know.
Was Hess weapons sergeant at the time
Yes.
that
Yeah.
Captain Hughes got killed in
Yes.
July 4th
Yes.
of
In fact,
69?
John and I dragged his body out after he got killed.
Hughes, because Hess got shot through the kidney or something, and he was medevaced, right?
Must have been after I left, but not,
So you dragged Hughes's body out?
yes.
Was that
John-
at the base of the west side of Kodo?
It was, no, we were doing a Black Hawk operation. We
Delta
went in-
Falcon.
Yeah, we were in a clear, I say it's a clear area. We dropped into a clear area, but then we moved into some wooded area. And that's when he got shot. And I examined his body even when we got him back to the B team, and I couldn't even find anything on him. Finally, someone said, "Is that a blood on the back of the shirt?" And we looked, and sure enough, I believe he took a bullet in the back. So it made John wonder if we didn't get killed by friendly fire. So, but we never mentioned that to the family.
No, of course not. So, he's buried up in Wisconsin,
Right.
northern Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I've been to the gravesite.
Yeah. I'm in touch with his sister. His mom died a few years ago.
All right. But was Hess wounded at that time, or am I thinking of another sergeant?
No, it would. Oh, I was
Another
wondering what
weapons
happened to Rudy Rodriguez. I see he's deceased. He's on the list as being deceased.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. He was a great sergeant. I loved him.
Well, it wasn't Rudy that I was thinking of.
No.
Well,
I didn't know Tucker got killed.
who's that?
Tommy Tucker.
Oh,
Is it
Tucker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'd
Tucker
already
was
left.
killed on, it's November 7th. We were, what had happened was we were that reaction unit out of Chilang at the time. They had some SIDs were holding the top of the rock pile, and they got overrun. There was, I think, a unit from either 402, either from Muckwa or 403. Where's 403 at? Anyway, they were down at the base of the south end of the rock pile where the entrance to the cave was. They had an outpost set up there. On the 5th or the 6th, I don't know, there's a lieutenant that was killed. Sherman, you've got, Steve, you got him listed as having been killed on the 6th, I believe. I didn't know the lieutenant, but I believe it's when the NVA overran, and they were NVA, that overran everybody, whatever units were on the top of the rock pile. And then it wasn't Farrar, was it?
A lieutenant?
He was lieutenant. I don't think it was Farrar. Farrar was killed shortly after that, I believe.
But now Don Phuoc had he was assigned somewhere else.
No, I'd have to look it up. This is all I've picked up from your website because I didn't know any names at the time. All I know is that we were in Chilang, and all of a sudden they scrambled us all up and put together. It was Captain Arzola, Tom Tucker, Riley, and Lott and I were with one company. Arzola and Tucker were with another company. There was a new kid that I don't even think I had met him. And he was also paired up with, we had a new team sergeant that had been with CCN or one of those CC groups up north, and he came down and he was like a short timer, and he was with the 3rd company. We also had some attached troopers from one of the other, so we were three plus companies. And we went in on the west side. They inserted us on the road. We walked into the west side of the rock pile. And rather than go up over the saddle and then come up toward the north, where the north end of the rock pile where the LZ was, we went up the west face. I'd never been up that side of the mountain. And the first night we just slept on the side of the hill. And then the next day, Tucker and Arzola were the lead element. They went on up that west face, came up between the 2 knolls that were on top of the knoll, and turned toward the south knoll, and that's when they engaged the NVA. There had been an 82 millimeter active that had, I think that's where one of the KIAs with either 402 or 403 occurred. Anyway, that first day, they got up into the middle, they turned south and assaulted up over and pushed the NVA off the top. He was calling in close air support. Riley and I ended up, we were taking a lunch break. We were halfway up. There was kind of I don't know how to describe the rock face, but it was a fairly smooth rock face, but it had a trail going up, and about halfway up was a big rock projecting out. And we had stopped there for lunch when he was calling in the air strikes. Half of our company had gone up ahead of us and the other half was below us. Turned out the captain didn't realize that our troops were up above the edge and were actually, they were probably about 75 meters, maybe 100 from where the airstrike was going on. So we took a couple casualties when that airstrike went in, took out a machine gun. He saw it. I heard him on the radio going, "Gee, you see that guy fly through the air?" And I was looking up and I saw the machine gun and the body going through the air too. So anyway, that's when, I don't know from where, but it was Riley, his radio operator, myself, and my radio operator, my RTO. We might have had an interpreter with us, but we took about 6 rounds of automatic fire from somewhere, don't know. And don't remember whether it was his radio operator or my radio operator took a round through the head. And so that's one of the KIAs. At that time, and this is how I know, or at least I'm confident that they were NVA. I was looking down the hill, looking, say, south toward the base where the unit from either 402 or 403 was. And all of a sudden there were like 24, like either grenades or M79 or whatever they were, just boom, 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 boom. And right after that, there were all these Indids looking, I mean, they were either NVA or who, I don't know who they were, but they were all in regular green military army uniforms. And they were up and assaulting down down the hill toward that other position. I don't know what happened. That's what I remember seeing. We went on up, and Riley and I and the other two Americans, the young guy I had never met, he got super sick. We all got ill. We had, I don't know what it was, dysentery or jungle fever or whatever, but we were all just shitting our drawers all over the place, all of us. So the young guy got medevac. So it was the team sergeant, the new team sergeant, I didn't really know. And then we were on the knoll where the helicopter pad was, and Arzola and Tucker were on the south end, and they were continuing to push south and try to take the NVA totally off the top. The next day, they continued the assault. We were just holding our position. I lose a little bit of memory there, whether there was another day in there or not, I don't recall. But then either that next morning or the following morning, I woke up to rounds going over our position, called up on the radio, said, is that, anybody got friendly mail coming in? And nope. And one round went over, one round fell short, one round fell right in between our two positions. So it was Captain Arzola and Tucker and Lott and myself so at that point, one of us got on the radio and is like, they got our range, everybody get down. The biggest tube we had was, they had a 60 millimeter, Arzola and Tucker had a 60 millimeter. And so Lott and I were in one of the observation positions where we could stand and look down into the bowl, and we were trying to locate the location of the tube. Couldn't find it, but at that point, the team sergeant came over and he was like, they aren't answering a radio over there, and I just taught 2 explosions right on the CP. So Riley grabbed his gear, told me to grab a radio, and we were headed over there. I was behind him a bit. We got there, and when I got up into the OP area where the mortar was, Riley had already gone over. Tucker was laying in his sleeping position where he would have been sleeping, but he was laying face down. There was a stack of, I don't know, all I remember was a stack of a bunch of bodies that were kind of pushed off to the side. I don't know if they had been from that immediate. Turns out they were 2 81 millimeter rounds. They weren't 82s, so they were using 81s. And they landed within 3 meters of that 60 millimeter mortar, dead on. And Tucker, his back was, you could see the stitches across his back, where every 2 inches was a small little piece of shrapnel that went in. So it was probably a US with the serrated metal rings, a US round. There were 2 rows of those, so that must have gone into his lungs and killed him. Arzola, Riley treated him. He'd been hit in the kidney, and his troops had drug him down. But that's how Tucker was killed. Riley, just to tell all the story, whether what's true at this point or not, I don't know. But he said Tucker might have been alive when his troops dragged him over to his position, but because they laid him face down, he maybe had suffocated. after being wounded. But we went ahead, and since there were, at that point, there were just 3 of us left in command of the whole battalion, and we were all just super sick and ill, and so we walked off the mountain. And I mean, the helicopters came in, we medevac Tucker and the other whatever SIDS and I mean whatever MSF were killed, and the wounded, and then we walked off, and they picked us up with Dusenhaus down on the road. And I had never before commuted between Chilang and Kodo by truck. It had always been helicopter. I was nervous as hell because, you know, you had to go right by Nui Jai there and the NVA just looking down at you. We went through Triton, and we're on the other side of Triton, and I'm in the front cab, and I realized that the troops are they're throwing smoke and stuff like that. And I climbed out the cab. There was no door on the Dusenhaus. I climbed out and I got up in the bed of the back, and I'm like, hey, stop that. And they're like, no, trunk seat, NVA, no problem. And they're throwing the smoke grenades. And so we left the smoke trail the whole way, and then went on up to Chilang with uneventful. But it turned out that about an hour after we went through Triton, that a column of Arvin APCs went the same route. They got ambushed and shot up pretty good. So maybe the troops knew what they were doing, throwing smoke grenades.
Well, for Ed DeClaus, Fred McKenzie's up here on the line. There he is. He got his camera. Ed, welcome.
How you doing, Mac?
We can't hear you here.
I heard him.
No, Fred, we can't hear.
He's muted.
Yeah,
You're muted, Freddie.
there you go.
There you are.
But he's talking, no sound coming out. Have you got something plugged in? Have you got a headphone that's stuck in the jack? We have to be lip readers. We can't hear a word. I think you may have something stuck in your headphone jack. If you unplug the headphone, you might be able to, we might hear you. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that a bit later. Let me share this.
Call him on the landline, let him know.
Okay.
I'll call him.
Okay. Let me go back to Bob Crandall here. Bob, I'm going to share this screen with everybody. Here is an after action report. And this is the part that you were talking about here. This is Operation Tukchip Knoll. And this is when the hits on the battalion CP, wounding Arzola and killing Sergeant Tucker. Bob, you're muted. You have to unmute, Bob, if you're going to answer.
Yep. I was just trying to. Okay.
Okay. So this is that part of the operation.
That was the 8th.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So.
Yeah, I'm the one that thought it was a 75 millimeter howitzer.
Well, you were the first report.
I was the first report, and Lot kind of looked at me like, why'd you think that? Well, I had never had a mortar round actually go over me. So I heard the scraping, and for even though I'd been there a year, it was like, you don't hear mortar rounds go over it. Well, you sure do. So that's why I thought it was a howitzer, but I was wrong. So the reason that I know it was 81 millimeter rounds were as we were headed over from our position to the CP, right halfway on there on the saddle, right on the trail, was the tail fin of the mortar round. And I looked at the fin, and it was definitely an 81. I shot an azimuth, a back azimuth. And then when we got up to the mortar position where the impact was, I shot another back azimuth and was looking at the mortar fins, and they were definitely 81s and not 82s. So, you know, the tube was probably an 82.
Stephen,
Yes.
this is Gary. I'd be curious to know everybody's career paths and what they're doing now.
Why don't we just go around here one at a time and speak for about 2 minutes about your post-Vietnam experiences. Start out with the earliest. Ed?
Ed, they want you to talk about your post-Vietnam experiences
About 2 minutes.
for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, I got out. I joined the Special Forces Reserve Unit in San Diego. Was only with them for a few months. They were more interested in doing paperwork than anything else. Was in college, took an Asian Studies major, graduated, went to Navy OCS, and then to basic underwater demolition SEAL training. Became a Navy SEAL, did 20 years of that, and retired, and then went to work for CIA for 15 years. So, all right, so I'm an adrenaline junkie.
Wow.
Fred McKenzie, have you got your microphone working?
No, he's muted.
You've muted here. You got to turn it up, turn your microphone on.
You're muted. You're muted. There you go.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, Mac, you still there?
Still can't hear him.
Yeah, but we're not hearing you. Your microphone is on, but we don't hear anything.
You're gonna have to take that American Sign Language class, Mac.
Increase the volume on your mic.
Yeah.
Do you
No,
have a
he's-
microphone that looks like this?
No, the microphones usually are built into the cameras. But that's why I had that little test thing for you to do before you came on, but nobody seems to do that. All right, next person over there, Don Blue. You
Okay.
were there forever.
Yeah, I was there for a while. And then I was in Thailand, retired in '84. Before I retired, I got my MBA in healthcare administration. Married an Army nurse. We owned a home health agency in San Antonio. Went to work for Baxter Healthcare Corporation, Midwest Vice President of Scientific Product Division. Wife told me we're moving back to San Antonio, moved back, had my first grandson. Now we have 8 grandkids and 1 great granddaughter, and
Wow.
sitting here on 14 acres, enjoying life
At Canyon Lake.
in Canyon Lake. Yep.
Yeah.
Mike Burleson.
Oh, I got out, went to college, gonna be an ag teacher. And then I decided I can't handle that, the way you gotta treat kids now, so I became a heavy equipment operator and then a heavy duty mechanic welder. And I did that for 30 years. Now I'm retired. Live in Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Crandall?
Yeah, when I came back, I tried going to college and tried a few other things, didn't do too well. I liked the alcohol too much. Just did some construction work, a lot of hitchhiking and traveling around the country. Ended up in Sitka for a while doing commercial salmon fishing and crabbing. Came back down, still couldn't keep my act straight. So out of desperation, I re-enlisted, volunteered to go back. I said, send me to Vietnam or Cambodia. And they said, well, we're no longer there. That was in 75 at that point. 74, I take it back. So ended up in the 2nd Division over in Korea. 75, shortly after Saigon fell, I was playing combat football, broke my neck, came to C5 quad, discharged, went through rehab at the Heinz VA Chicago, got an engineering degree at University of Illinois, went back home to Eugene, Oregon, and never really did much work. But ended up traveling around, hitchhiking around for quite a bit. Ended up here in Billings in 2005 when my dad needed to go through Alzheimer's place to see the end of his life go on. And this was a good place. And moved here in 2005. And I've been here ever since, not really doing a whole lot. Doing some work with some veterans groups, working with PTSD and equine therapy. That's about it.
Bob, I see you got your upper extremities working. How about the lowers?
No, they don't.
They don't
No.
work?
No, they
You got a
don't work
wheelchair?
at all. I got claws for hands, but yeah, I can do that. And I used to be able to do more. I pretty much lived on my own most of the time, traveled around with my service dog for about 15 years. Bought a little farm outside of Eugene. That's where I was born. That's where Riley lived, in Springfield, actually. But I actually didn't see him until I got in touch with there's a Special Forces email list that he turned me on to, and I hung out on that for a few years. And but yeah, now I pretty much need a lot of help. I still push my own chair, so I do push a manual chair. I'm not in a power chair, but it's been a good life.
You're still one of our heroes.
Oh, come on. No, that's Mr. Blue. Oh, before I go totally, I wanted to thank Don Blue. Someone from one of my PTSD groups, I told him about the team I served with and all the great guys that I got the privilege of knowing and being able to call whatever buddies or whatever we were and are. And he said, I ran across this video of some guy named Don Blue. He was a medic in Special Forces in Vietnam. You want to look at it? And it was an interview of Don by, I don't know who that was, but that was an excellent interview you gave. So thank you very much. That was a great take on your experience and some of mine.
Gary?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier that if everybody is still on here, that I got out of the service in '69 and went back to college, got another year of college in, so that way I had 3 years in. And by then I was married, had 2 kids, and was finding it kind of rough to go to school and work 2 jobs. So I ended up going back in the Army in early '70, June of '70. Within about 2 or 3 months after going to a jump refresher course, Colonel Bull Simon was interviewing some of us to go on a special mission. So I volunteered to go, and we ended up going to close to Hanoi and trying to rescue what we thought was going to be about 40 or 50 American POWs. It ended up they had moved them before we got there. So that was called the Sante raid.
Sante,
So
yeah.
I was lucky to be one of the medics that went on that. So I went ahead and stayed in, became a physician assistant. So I retired a warrant officer, W3, in '87, and I still practiced medicine until I retired at age 65. That was 11 years ago. So I'm retarded, living in Granbury, Texas, and enjoying a good time with my wife and 3 kids, and got another grandchild just born about a year ago. So we get to spoil him.
Bob, I don't know the geography of Montana, but are you anywhere near Great Falls?
Oh, about 5 hours
Oh, that's a long way.
southeast,
Okay.
Great Falls. Billings is just about, we're just north of the Wyoming border, 2 hours
That's-
east of Bozeman.
Yeah, you're up by Wisdom in the bowl.
No, we're on the east side. My sister likes to say that Billings is on the western edge of the Great American Desert.
That's right
So-
up from Sheridan, Wyoming.
That's correct. 2
North
hours,
of Sheridan, yeah, north of Sheridan, Wyoming.
2 hours
That
north
takes-
of Sheridan. Yeah,
Because I take the motorhome and go up there to get away from the heat in Texas.
it's a beautiful place.
I don't know if Fred is back to talking again or not. There's still,
And now he's on mute.
you're muted again.
You're muted again.
Frederick B. McKenzie, take it off of mute.
He just texted me and said that he thinks he might have audio now. Okay, let's see.
There he goes.
They, no, no. No, we can't hear you.
Nice try.
All right.
Well, Ed, I hate to say it, but not everybody can be a good special forces soldier. So they have to go to Navy SEAL, and not everybody can be a good SEAL. So then they have to go to CIA. And so sorry, you couldn't be a good special forces soldier.
Yeah. But he's talking
I'll put in a
to
little advertisement here.
Oh,
1966,
yeah.
we had a monthly magazine in Vietnam that came down from the first group, actually. So if you guys haven't got them, this is a 5-volume set. I put all magazines for 1 year into each book. So there are 52 magazines. A pretty neat yearbook of everything we had. That's on my website. A lot of you already have it. There's a lot of stuff out there of interest. It depends on how deep you want to get into your history. But it's kind of a time when we have people who've been asking us questions that we haven't answered for a long time. So it's nice to have some of this stuff there to pass on for those answers.
Thanks for doing this.
Well, it's been a lot of fun. I've got these 6 events this week and that will complete going through every single A team in Vietnam.
Wow.
Right. So
Stephen, you're recording this, right?
I am recording it, and the girl who's helping me with finalizing the videos is way, way behind. But she's done all of I-Corps. So those are all up on the website. And the rest of them, I posted some temporary unedited versions up there for some of the camps. So you'll see some of them up there. But she did a really good job of doing the I-Corps camps. I'm hoping that she'll get to work on these. But you know, you can't push it if you're not paying for it. So
just as an aside, any chance anyone knows when Bill Grattan passed on?
what was the last name?
Grattan.
GR.
It's Como. It's about the same time. Well, we were in the field same time. He was on 614 when it got overrun. Got a Silver Star for that, but I haven't been able to find a record for it.
Okay, William Grattan was in Livermore, California, and he died in 2007.
Oh, really? All right.
So,
Yeah.
7 GRATTON.
Yep.
Bronze Star for achievement, Bronze Star with V, and a Silver Star. Silver Star for action on 5/1969.
That was the date. Okay. Because I didn't have a date for that.
Well, yeah, I've been building up this database over the years, and it's pretty good.
Nice.
It's pretty old because I had a lot of trouble with the new software. All these databases I have out there, they all seem to crash on me. This stuff here I started doing in 1988. So that's how old the database is. And it's been out of business for most of that time, but it never dies.
So this video is going to be available on your website in probably a few months.
Well, I don't know how long the girl's gonna take to do it. I probably gonna end up putting some of these videos up as a temporary, unedited versions. The website specialforcesbooks.com is linked in my email. On the first page, it has a map of Vietnam.
Fred, are you in front of your computer? Is that what you're on your computer, Fred McKenzie? Yeah, I know you can't. We can't hear you. You can type. Do you know how to type? It's on the chat. Then you can chat everybody. It's at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You can chat.
If you click on the bottom, you'll see a bunch of icons. One of the icons is chat, unless it's not there and you have more.
You can chat.
More, you can do chat. And Fred has just come back and responded and says, I'm here.
Okay.
So he at least has communicated with us. So the others have to put your chat on so that you can see those messages. I've asked the Zoom people, now that I'm all done with this whole project, to give me a video to show people how to set up their screen so they can see the chats and the participants. This is a very good program for the kind of stuff we're doing. And as I said, you can get 40 minutes for free anytime you want it. You've got the addresses on the email I sent to you. So you can call a meeting and just go ahead. You don't need me.
So I just sent you a text, Steve. We haven't heard your bio yet.
Well, I got out of Vietnam in 1960. I got out of the Special Forces in 68 after 3 years. I was the S5 and assistant S5 and S5 plans officer in Pleiku. and the plans officer in the Trang. So I had a glorious career of just short of 3 years in the Army. I got out, came back to the United States in 1968, and decided I really didn't like this place. So I just bought my own airplane ticket to go back to Vietnam because I thought I had a couple of jobs lined up for the consulting companies like RAND and Control Data. I didn't really understand what was going on because I got there, Control Data put me up in their team house, promising me a job. But what they're doing is they're shopping my resume through the Department of Defense. So after a while, I went over to the PX and said, hey, can I get a job putting boxes on the shelf or whatever the hell you do here? And they looked at my resume. They said, man, we got a job for you. So I became the chief of plans and programs for a $400 million retail operation in Vietnam. My job was to phase it out, close it down. And I did that for 2 years, set up the procedures. And then I phased out my own job, went back to the States. I got my graduate degree, came back to Asia again. The war was not quite over, but my target was Malaysia and Singapore. I spent about 7 years doing some strange things in Malaysia and Singapore. A lot of fun. At one point, I was the managing director of the Air Maldives. That was kind of a fun thing. And then finally, my wife said, we're coming back to the States. We're not making any money over here. So I went back to the States, came to Houston, Texas, because it was warm. I didn't have to shovel a driveway. And I worked for an accounting firm for about 6 months. And then after leaving that, we're in the process of leaving that, I went to an auction where they were selling some old computer equipment. And I bought some. I liked it. So I went into business supporting the companies that had that equipment, that the company that was selling off was getting rid of that line. I thought I was going to work for 6 months and work for 10 years. And when you price something, a business with a 6 month outlook, and you get 10 years worth of revenue, you do very well. My friends used to say that I was a Studebaker dealer of the computer industry. My job at that point was 15 minutes a month of sending leasing bills out to my customers. And I had a lot of time and money on my hands, so I went and reprinted these Green Beret magazines because I wanted a set for myself, and that was the only way I was going to get it. It cost $100,000 to do it, but I sold out enough copies to pay off the printer very quickly, and then I indexed them all, and that was my mistake because everybody said, "Well, you know who was this and who was that." Who did that? I said, I haven't got a clue. Send me all the papers you've got under your bed. And so I proceeded to gather in a huge archive of material. I had people go to the archives. I went to the archives. I copied all the 5th group general orders. I put them into a database with some friends' help. I have probably 10 filing cabinets of awards after action reports, all this shit over here. I've got much more information than anybody on special forces in one place, on special forces in Vietnam. And the center has actually sent people over here to look at what I have in the hopes I would promise to give it to them, but I didn't.
Nói tiếng Việt.
I have a warehouse right now. I bought the inventory of a Vietnamese publisher in Houston who went out of business a long time ago. And I'm just in the process of setting up a website to sell 20-year-old Vietnamese language books that I've got in huge quantities out there. I'm also about to set up a website to do special forces books by SF authors, because there's so much stuff that's out there that people don't know about. All of you guys have often written something basically for your family, but you went out and printed it up, so it's there, and it's just a lot of really good stuff. So I'm going to be putting that on a website as an Amazon affiliate. So if you come to the website, you see all these special forces books, you like it, click on it. Amazon will take your money and buy it and send it to you, and they'll send me 4%, which won't do very much, but at least it will keep the website funded for long after I'm gone.
Good.
So,
Ed, you didn't introduce your beautiful girlfriend there.
Me? I'm Ed's wife. I was at CIA when I married Ed, so I managed to, when he retired, get him a job. That's how he got to CIA. My name is Sue Duclos. And thank you so much for your service, everyone.
Well, thank you for helping Ed with the Zoom. He couldn't make it in special forces, so I didn't figure he could work Zoom out by himself,
That's the truth.
Fred, can you type to us?
Who's this?
Fred McKenzie.
yeah.
Say something in chat, Fred. Let's see what he's saying.
1989. Can you read my message? Yes.
He's just typing to Steve.
You can type to everyone.
Well, I need to get going. So Gary, it's good to talk with you again. We'll be in touch. Don, it's good to see you and be able to talk.
Hey, Bob.
It surprises
Yes.
me, but I recognize you. I mean, you look the same.
Oh, come on.
No, I mean, not exactly the same, but I mean,
All
I'd
right.
pick you out. If someone
Yeah.
said, "Who's Bob Crandall?" I'd know who it is.
It looks like he got the text, he got the chat working.
Yeah, you got the text. Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
there
Bob.
you go.
Yes.
Hey,
Don.
Bob.
Yes.
I'm hoping now that diesel's back down, get the motorhome out, and I'll be up in Shadron, and from Shadron I go over to Cheyenne up to Sheridan. I definitely will give you a call and let you know I'm in the area.
Much appreciated. I would love to see you.
Okay, you be safe, brother.
You also. Thank you. All right. Steve, thank you for putting this together. And I got to be out of here. I got to go use the bathroom. So y'all take care. And Ed, it's good to meet you. And who else is on here? Is that well, and Fred, I'm glad you got the chat going. And Mike Burleson, good to meet you. So
You bet.
I hope we can
pleasure.
all chat again another time and see each other.
Oh, he's
So,
coming in
thank
for
you.
the 4 o'clock
Okay.
session.
Take care,
Bye now.
Bob.
Coming in for the 4 o'clock session.
Thank you very much. Love you guys all. Come on, leave. Yeah. I gotta go.
Okay, that looks like Robert Jackson. Actually,
Yes.
you're here early.
Yes, yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Early.
Can
Yes,
you hear
I
me?
you.
Okay, good.
But I have you down for 404, and the next one we're doing is 402.
I was in both of them.
Okay, very good. You're welcome to be here for any of them.
Yes.
Uh,
So that's why I'm here early for 402 today. I won't be around for 404.
Okay, well.
Well, Fred, this is Gary Keel. you left there just before I got there. I got there in September or October of '68 and was there until October '69, October '69.
He left way before you got there.
Yeah. But, you know, I remember cross training everybody when I was in group, in sixth group, fifth group, first group, 4 to 6 company. I remember training my whole team on how to start an IV. And it was to save my life because I could start an IV on them if I needed to, but you know, I want to make sure they could save me. Right, Don?
Yep.
I wish we
Robert
could get,
Jackson.
Don, Don, you got any idea when you're gonna be coming out?
Mike, I'm hoping to get out soon. I'm going stir crazy. In fact, you know, Mary Beth wants to stay close to her mom and dad. So I devised a plan that I'll take off in the motorhome, me and the dog, and like fly her into El Paso, then pick her up, and then we'll, you know, come through cruises and then head up to, Drew wants me to come up to his new place up in Colorado Springs. And Grover wants me to come over to the ranch. So that's when I'm gonna hit over into Nebraska and then go up to Chadron and over to Billings and Bozeman and who knows where.
Well, who's gonna stay with her folks?
The last time we did, well, what I'm planning to do is fly her sister down from Ohio and do that again, try it again. So it's hard, Michael. And you know how MB is, you know, so.
You're gonna have to break down and pay her.
Hell, she still got her 401k. She hadn't even touched it yet. She got to start touching it.
I'm talking about your sister-in-law.
Oh shit. You know, it's their mamas too, you know.
Yeah, I know. You give MB a hug for me.
Yeah, she's gone out to do something. I'm not sure. Me and the dog sitting out here in the screened-in porch.
I know where you're sitting. So I'm looking at that garden that you need to get out there and weed now.
No, it's dried up. I've turned it over and getting ready to do some fall planting, but we've gotten some moisture now. It's starting to turn green, so I'm gonna do the planting, and I'm gonna put a couple more trees in the orchard, and that's about it.
Anybody here remember Sergeant Major Kittleson?
Yeah, Pappy Kittleson.
Kittleson?
Galen Kittleson.
Yeah,
Pappy
Galen C. Kittleson. Yeah.
Yeah.
We called him Pappy.
Yeah.
Right.
I consider him to be the soldier's soldier. You know, there's a book written about him. It's called The Raider, because he raided in 3 wars. Pappy was with me on the Sante raid even. And he would go out with me, and when he was a sergeant major, and pick up cigarette butts. I was just an E6, E5. So I mean, there's nothing too good for him, you know, or too bad. He would just a soldier. And you know, he died a few years ago, but anybody gets a chance to read or get that book, is called The Raider. and you can read about him.
We
Jerry,
served
you were
impressive
with Adderley, right?
Yeah, Adderley.
That's on trail. Yeah, Adderley.
Yeah, he was the only one who got shot. No,
Did you
no
shoot
one
him?
taught him how to dodge
Yeah.
a bullet.
Yeah.
Tyrone Adderley.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, Don, I think you and Riley Lott were the most two famous SF medics ever. You
No,
and
we just
Riley Lott.
put a lot of time in on the job. Four and a half years.
Yeah, well, you did us proud.
Well,
Man,
get to live with good people.
I remember old Riley, he had venereal works down in down the high year. And he put, I don't know, they gave him some stuff he was supposed to put on the works. He put it on
To
his
burn them
whole-
all.
to burn them off. And he put it on his whole pecker. God damn. I never forget him running up and down the goddamn he'd go screaming and hollering and get in the shower and it'd feel good for a minute and then it should have started burning again. He'd start running, screaming and hollering.
Well, see,
I never forget Riley.
but Don and I would remember this, but we can't tell who we gave penicillin shots to for gonorrhea and syphilis. So, you know, that's all a secret, isn't it?
They didn't have HIPAA back then, though, right?
Have what?
HIPAA.
Oh no, they didn't have HIPAA.
Yeah.
If you could catch it, Riley had it.
Oh yeah.
Is that why you stayed over there for such a long time?
Yeah. Oh man. I remember when I think it was President II when he came down to Hyann, had his wife with him, and there's Riley sitting over there jacking the dog off. That's just the way Riley was. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, never saw him do that.
Freddie B. McKenzie. You remember the first operation we went on? We went out and we hit that post office where that family was getting that mail coming in from Cambodia and so forth. Are you typing it?
I type it to everybody.
Oh, okay. Because I think that was the first operation we went on.
I remember going on into the Yumen forest looking for Major Rowe. Did everybody ever look for Major Rowe?
That was
Everybody did.
Everybody.
yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Don, there's an answer to your question.
Oh,
He asked where they launched out, where you launched out of.
where do we launch out of? We left Don Phuoc. And
what was the
when
time
they-
frame on that?
Steve, let's see. I had left the Gorilla Company. So it had to be 68 or I'm thinking 68, 1968. It was you, Gary Dollar, Nutella, and myself. In fact, you got sick.
Any of these look right?
After action report for mobile gorilla.
That's,
In fact, I think it was called Snake Man.
all right, Snake Man 2, 68, or Snake Man 2, or there's a couple of Snake Man.
Yeah, I know. I went on 3 of them.
Okay. The Snake Man 2, that's from Muckwa. Okay, Snake Man,
No, it had to be out of Don Phuoc.
okay. Now, Don Phuoc was Snake Man number 268.
Okay, so that was the one.
And that is Thurston, Gutsy. So that's a different bunch of people.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at another Snake Man. Three. That's 403. Five is both 401 and 402.
Okay.
Mackenzie, Frederick B., Burleson, Gilbert Woods, and Lay, Suzanne from 402,
Yeah.
and some people from Boswai.
There it is. Frederick B. McKenzie, Gilbert Woods, Michael Burleson,
George Lack.
Ron Simpson. Yeah. No, George Lay, the medic.
Yeah.
Lay.
And did Davis get killed on Snake Man?
No, he got killed on that goddamn, where they'd spot the NBC and they'd drop him in, wasn't they?
No, when I got medevac, he replaced me. And I had, I told him, that it didn't seem right, and just hang out here and send out patrol east, send out patrol west, and then 7 days they'll come and pick you up. And when I got on a chopper, 2 hours later they killed 85 of them.
Yeah.
And Davis was one.
Yeah.
And that what's that lieutenant that got shot through the leg and spent the night out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I came back from the hospital, the Cambo thought I was the Walking Dead because they said the black box C was killed.
Yeah.
And they were talking about Davis.
Yeah. I remember loading bodies though.
Yeah.
It was stacked like cordwood in that goddamn caribou. The fact
80 they killed
parted that
85
caribou out.
people. They killed 85 people in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I am going to turn off the recording and turn it back on again. You don't have to go away. I'm just going to make a break between the two sessions here.